In this video, I'm going to walk you through an intro to the Dreambox Family Dashboard. When you first log in the upper right-hand corner will be a quick glimpse of how many lessons the student has completed during this school year, as well as how many standards have been met. You'll notice that the date is July 1st, as that is just when Dreambox resets their dashboard and their lessons to be the current school year. You'll be on the Overview tab when you first log in, and there's a place here where you can toggle to see what area of time you want to focus on. So right now I just have it set for the current school year, but you can have it set over the last month, last week, or today. So as you can see here, this student has worked for almost 3.5 hours on Dreambox this school year. And if you divide the hours by how many weeks since July 1st, it will just give you the average minutes per week over time. This right here is how many lessons they've completed, which should, if you have it set for the current school year, would be the same number you see up here. The new standards met would be the same as up here. And the standards progressed in is how many different standards is the student currently working on that they've shown some kind of success in. And because Dreambox allows students to pick and choose which tiles they work on, they can be working in multiple standards and multiple grade levels at a time. So this is just a quick glimpse of where they are showing progress in. Now, obviously, if you change this, if you're looking over this each Sunday with your student, then you would click on the drop down, go to last 7 days, and that would change this information so you could see how many activities they've completed in the last 7 days. If you scroll down, this is your activity feed of the lessons that your student has worked on most recently. And the couple things to notice is for each of these tiles, it will tell you the date that they worked on it. Over here, it will give you a button, and it will either be gray with a pause symbol, it might be green with a check mark, or it may be gray with a check mark. So the pause means that the student went into the activity, but they didn't continue it to completion to send them back to the dashboard. This could be caused by a couple different things. The student could have been confused and didn't even know how to approach the activity when they entered into it. And oftentimes that will be shown by only a duration of 1 minute. It could be that they worked through a little bit of it, but then they got frustrated and they got to a stopping point where they weren't sure what to do, so they closed out of it. In that case, you'll probably see a longer duration. Or it could be that it was time to transition to another station, or if they were working at home, that it was time for dinner or to leave for another activity. So we really discourage the students from closing out of an activity for the reason of not understanding what to do or being confused, because Dreambox is extremely adaptive. And as they put in educated guesses that may be incorrect, they'll get the feedback of oops, try again. But then along with the oops, try again, if they listen to the auditory feedback and they look at the visuals and different parts of the visuals being highlighted immediately after, those are giving them hints to help them through and guide them through and give them those scaffolds. And if Dreambox finds that the student is not being successful with those scaffolds, it will actually end the lesson for them. They'll still get the credit for it, and it will just assign them a lesson that would be more appropriate. So in that case, if the student didn't pause the lesson and persevered through, but they weren't successful with the activity to show progression, then they would see, they wouldn't see, you would see from the family dashboard a gray circle with a check mark. And here, instead of saying completed with demonstrated understanding, it would be gray and it would say lesson completed with no demonstrated understanding. However, they still would get credit for working through that lesson. Whereas when they pause the activity, they don't get credit for it. So if they work for 10 minutes on an activity, we want them to get credit for it. So we want them to continue working through and trying to problem solve. If they work on an activity and they show understanding, then you'll see a green check mark like this, and it will also still tell you how much time they spent. So the student spent 6 minutes on this activity, and they were able to show demonstrate understanding the first time. If I scroll down here a few days back, you'll also notice this little icon, and this is new this year. This is an assigned focus lesson. So students are encouraged that when they see assigned focus lessons on their dashboard, to spend the majority of their time, at least until they disappear, on those at the start of each week. Because those standards or those activities I have assigned, and they go directly with what we're doing in small group. And it will help them work on areas, although it's not one of the student choices necessarily, it's areas that will directly strengthen their understanding to go along with class discussions as well as assessments that are coming up. So we want to see that students are working on the assigned focus lesson. So when your student logs in to their dashboard, if you see this next to a tile, please highly encourage them to work through those. And that's all I'm going to go through in this video. Hope it was helpful, and please feel free to email me with any questions.